Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Good morning and welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm just constantly affirmed by everybody's willingness to work hard and push that drive during what we could call tough times with COVID and everything else going on in the world. So I'm always encouraged to hear your business stories, things that you're doing, ways that you're improving yourself. Maybe you're still stuck at home, and just keep them coming. And with that in mind, I always want to have great people on my show. And in this case, we've got somebody that's not only a mindset coach, a speaker, and has her own podcast. I think this could be very helpful for everybody. I've got Pam Christian on the line. Good morning, Pam. How are you?
Hey, how are you? I'm great.
Really good to hear from you. East Coast style, so your day's really kind of off and moving, and most of our days are just starting out here. But I just was really excited to be connected to you through David Meltzer. All the guests you've sent my way have been incredible, and I'm sure this is no exception to that. So, I'm looking through your website, and, as I just suggested, you're a mindset coach, a motivational speaker, and you have your own podcast. We love to talk about where things started for one another and, where did your business career start and how did you get off to finally having your own business? So if you wouldn't mind walking us through your past a little bit, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, sure. It's actually a perfect timing because I just finished, literally this weekend, my first book. And a lot of it is reflecting on all of this. So it's very front of mind. And what I'm realizing, or what I realized while I was writing and reflecting, is that my business started at a very young age, much younger than I ever would have imagined, because usually we think things start when something happens. So you have your first career, you have your first job, and we're like, oh, that's where it started. But what I realized is it's kind of been in me all along because of my parents, but really my dad being such a businessman and that being kind of a big part of his life other than his family. I grew up inhaling it and not even realizing it. So from a young age, whether it was like starting a little babysitting thing or I worked at a candy shop, but I quickly grew in the ranks because I learned all about leverage. And I could come up with a million other little businesses and jobs that I had before I was 20 that set the foundation for that next level, which then set the foundation for the next level. So the next level was I decided to go to school to become a teacher. I wanted to teach kids and be and work with special education population. But while doing that, it just wasn't enough for me because you can't make the money that maybe some people would want to make. So I decided to do a side business with a friend who I was in school with, and we started this candy company with homemade candies, and it started taking off, and we catered to large corporations, a lot in New York City, and then that grew into its own thing, and then I wound up, getting pregnant and having, I guess I have to say I got married first, having kids, and I didn't want to, minor detail, and there's nothing wrong if you don't get married
That's
first,
right.
by the way. It's all good. Everyone's on their own journey. But so I didn't want to teach anymore because I wanted to be home for my kids. And the candy company, it was too labor intensive for the way I wanted it, the mom I wanted to be. So I went into another career, which became real estate. And I was a single agent. I had a partner, but we were single agents, and we sold real estate, and we did really well our first year, and it really took off. And by year 3, I had built a team of agents underneath me who were not able to be successful on their own, but with the right guidance and leadership, which I didn't have at first. I then was able to help them make money and help them gain confidence and help them become the kind of realtors they wanted to be while also improving my own business. And then just because that was about 16 years. And then just a couple of years ago, I switched over to this business because as much as I loved real estate, the business aspect and hustle of it, I realized I had a bigger purpose here. And if I wasn't living my purpose, then I was not only selling myself short, but I was selling the world short because I wasn't giving what I was truly meant to give in my time here on this planet.
Sure.
And so that's what I'm doing now: mindset coaching, motivational speaking, writing this book that will hopefully inspire and motivate others. And basically, my whole platform, my mission for the rest of my life here is enough about me. It's all about you out there, and helping to heal humanity by inspiring and motivating others to live their very best lives. And that's what I'm here to do.
Well, I'm already very quickly inspired by your energy level.
Thanks. Sorry if it was too fast.
No, it's good. I love it. But I do want to touch on a few things, because I think some of the elements that you've gone through in your life provide good learning tools. You know, you talked about your dad being in business, and that inspired you in many different ways to have, as you said, countless other little businesses. Talk about your dad and what business he was in, and what was it that you were attracted to? Because I think it's important for the parents out there, or even the kids of great parents or parents that are doing things, to identify, hey, this is what's going on in my life. I need to take some notes here.
You know, it's not so much, I got to say, it wasn't so much about what he was doing. It was more about how could I forge a relationship with my dad? What was our common ground? And I think I knew that I needed to find something common. My sister was an athlete and he was into sports. They had that. So I had to find something else to grab onto. And I had a lot of adversity and obstacles as a child, which you'll read in my book. I won't go into them too much in detail, but trust me, they were really tremendous and traumatic. I just wanted to connect. And I didn't know how to. And so I started realizing business is really important to my dad. And you know what? I kind of like the hustle too. And I have a business mind too. And so I would just do things to please him. So whether it was washing his car and getting paid for it, and finding other ways to kind of get his attention a little bit. And also, he's since passed, unfortunately. But when I reflect back on those early days of my childhood, the learning for the parents, it's your modeling. It's whatever you're doing. The kids are soaking up. I have 3 of my own, and I see them pick up my good habits and my bad habits. So we have to be really mindful of what we're putting out there as parents, because whether we realize it or not, our kids are soaking all of that up. And I would just listen to him at night. This is my favorite thing about the business things that he taught me, and there were so many. And he was sort of in finance, but more of an entrepreneurial spirit like me. And what I loved was at night he'd get home and he'd have his calls that he'd have to do. You know, you got to hustle, you got to keep on it, whether your day ends at 5 or not, it doesn't matter. But he always was on calls at no cost to the others to help them, to give them guidance. Mm-hmm. And what I love about that was he was giving, but also that's the best way to learn, is to teach.
Sure.
So as much as he was giving and he was coming from contribution and he was trying to help others, I was also watching him learn and gain confidence, because he was just starting out at this point too, and gain confidence and kind of get clarity on what it is he wanted to deliver, what it meant, and the message. So, but I love that he sat there and took calls from people. So I do that all the time. Anyone who wants to call me just to kind of run something by me or get some guidance, I always do that, no charge, for the call, and try to see how I can help, because it's all about us all bettering ourselves. And some of us are lucky enough to have resources and tools that others aren't.
I really love that you're saying that, especially nowadays. There's just so little of that going around, where people are sharing so much of themselves. And I think it's important to help each other out, whether it's just to lift them up of something that they're going through that they only needed a body to talk to, or, as you suggested, help people through a business challenge. Because sometimes it just takes that one conversation to change the dynamics of your business and the direction you're going. It's actually how I got into this consulting business. Was I was doing my podcast and people realized I had a story, and they started calling. And I'd mentioned David Meltzer. He's like, that's just you're consulting, you're helping people. And it felt really good to identify that. So I'm glad that's something that you noticed from your father, because oftentimes people would think the opposite, like, my dad's home, he's not paying attention to me. But you looked at it as a positive thing, and that's what stuck with you.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it's not only helping the other person who needs the help, it's also giving is living. I mean, it's all about giving. We think it's all about holding and hoarding, and that's the competition. But the more you help others, the more you elevate yourself, and the more good that comes your way. And so we have to help each other. Otherwise, our world is going to continue in the trajectory it's been going in. And we all want it to change. We all want it to be better. So when we can come together and share our knowledge and support each other, that's how we'll get there.
Yeah. Now, just go back to your story a little bit. You had taken some time off from business to become a mom. How hard was it for you to step back into business life and go back to work or chase the next opportunity?
No, the question is, how hard was it to stay home and not do anything? Because as you mentioned, my energy levels, I have a hard time. And I did the same thing between real estate and this career. I took a year off or 6 months off. I can't remember how long it was, but I have a hard time not doing. So going back in was nothing. It was the space in between that was painful for me, but so worth it. And my kids are my purpose. They're everything. There's nothing more important in my world to me. So I'm so glad I had it. But it's hard for me to sit and be not so much now anymore. Now I welcome it. Now I relish it. Now I think it's the best thing in the world, and it's where my best ideas come to me. But back then, 20 years ago or something, it was very hard for me.
Yeah. And talk about your real estate career. There's, heck, here in Montana, real estate's booming right now. Everybody's looking for a quiet, comfortable place to live. Tell us about your real estate career and what were some of your highs and lows there?
I mean, my highs were I was always number 1 or 2 in my office, number 1 or 2 in my area. I was in the luxury market, but really my highs were when my client's transaction went as seamlessly as possible. There are always hiccups in real estate. People think they're going into a transaction and they get an offer accepted or the house gets a contract on it. And they're like, "Ooh, we're in the clear. This is amazing. This is going to be so great." And that's where it's just beginning. And there's always, always, always bumps in the road. So, and I manage my clients' expectations. I always let them know that that's the reality of it, no matter how good I am, because there are inspection issues, attorney things, if you're in an attorney state and things like that are out of our control. But as long as I can provide a white glove experience, and I'm all about customer service, and I read Disney's book, I read The Gold Standard by the Ritz-Carlton, I read The Nordstrom Way, and I was raised in a family with super high standards and high expectations, so you always gave the best of yourself to someone else. So when my clients could move into their new house or close the door on their old house and say, "This was amazing," and then they'd refer me, those were my highs. It didn't matter if the transaction was $200,000 or $20 million. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
That was it for me.
What's interesting, an observation, you said, very casually, I was either first or second in sales every month. And the funny part is I don't know because I don't know a whole lot about you, but the confidence that you have in telling your story and articulating your life so far in our brief 15 minutes together, the confidence exudes. Of course you were number 1 and number 2. And I'm just wondering, as a learning experience for people, where does that confidence come from? Is it through a series of successes, or is that back to your upbringing? Because it's so important to have that confidence in business and life, because it's exactly what I just suggested. Of course you were first or second. I can tell from your voice.
Okay, well, it comes from being to hell and back over and over and over again until I decided I didn't want to be in hell anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived a very, 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 very difficult childhood and very difficult teenage life. And even my 20s, I mean, I'm not going to say we're perfect, but every step of the way, I got myself back up, pulled myself together, and tried again. And I'd fall again, and I'd fail again. And I'm not talking in business. I'm talking in life. I went through, like I said, some serious trauma, and then I would spend the rest of my years with, creating self-sabotaging situations for myself where I would constantly put myself in a position to be knocked down again, because that's what I knew and that's what felt comfortable to me. And even if it wasn't great or I didn't like it, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. Mm-hmm. And I think I often say this. I was around 16 years old and I was sick of it. I was so sick of my own stuff. And I picked up this book not knowing if it would impact me or really not knowing anything about self-help or anything like that.